Hi, I'm Twinx, Shadow's other half. Today I will be reacting to a few Am I the A-hole posts and give my opinion. After that, we will tell you whether or not they were. Let's get into the video. Am I the a-hole for not following my husband's family tradition? I got tongue-tied. My 28 female husband, 29 male, comes from a very traditional family. While we disagree with his family on many things, it has never really been an issue until now. I am currently 8 months pregnant, and my husband and I couldn't be happier as we've been trying for a while. Since I first found out I was pregnant, we've been discussing names for our child. In my husband's family, the tradition wants the child to be named after his grandfather. Basically, firstborn men in his family only have one of two names, James or Henry. My husband's grandfather was James, so his name is James too. My husband's father is called Henry, so our child should be too, and so on and so forth. But my husband and I didn't really feel like calling our child Henry, and although it's a beautiful way to honor family members, we really wanted our child to have a name that would be personal, that would truly be his. So we chose another name and decided to wait until after the birth to reveal it to everyone. This week, my mother-in-law came to visit us and help us set up for the baby. She brought us some presents, amongst which was a bunch of clothes on which she had hand embroidered the name Henry. I said it was nice and thanked her for it, but told her that we wouldn't be naming our child Henry, as we had already told her in the past. She started insisting and saying that it was a tradition, so it had to be that way. I explained to her that we'd rather give our child a name that we chose and that Henry could be his middle name. She immediately went to my husband and started saying things like, "You're not going to let her do that to our family," and making it very dramatic, saying that I was breaking a tradition that went back hundreds of years. Honestly, not sure about that. My husband tried to explain that we both agreed on the name and all the reasons why we made that choice, but she wouldn't listen. She suggested we name him Henry on paper as his legal name and then called him something else, but I thought that would be confusing for him and told her that he would be named what we chose. She kept begging my husband and saying that I was ruining the family tradition, and at one point I lost it, which is partially to blame on hormones, I think, and told her that it was our child, so we did what we wanted, and we didn't have to follow a stupid tradition. She stormed out, and my husband has since received texts from his father and sister accusing me of making his mother feel really bad, and some other stuff that I don't really remember. I get the importance of tradition, and it can be really beautiful, but also I feel like that shouldn't be an obligation, and it's okay to change things. We won't change our baby's name because we're really set on that, but maybe we were wrong for not following the tradition. I'm not entirely sure and am mentally exhausted by all this drama. Edit. I've seen many comments mentioning they saw similar stories in the past. I'd like to clarify, those weren't mine. All of those events happened 2 days ago, but it's crazy to see how many families have similar traditions. I really thought this was a super rare thing. That was a doozy. I know family can be quite intense with tradition. I would not like it if someone was trying to make me not have control over my own child's name. I want to be able to name my children what I want, along with my partner's. say so. And that's what I like about this thing, is that she and her husband are both on board by not sticking to their tradition. She shouldn't be shamed for it. I think she and her husband are completely in the right, and their choice matters. Let's read some comments, shall we? I will never understand this. What if your family had the same tradition? Who wins? Not the a-hole in the slightest. Congratulations on your pregnancy, and give your sweet boy whatever name you and your husband choose. Edit to add, if you were having a girl, would you be in the clear to name her whatever? Grr. Not the a-hole. You and your husband have picked a name you like for your child. Keywords here, and that should be that. It's not wrong to break tradition, especially ones like this, so please don't feel guilty or bad, OP. Mother-in-law needs to let it go, but it's probably going to be a while before she does, or if she ever does. So you should probably make sure that your husband is willing to die on this hill with you and have your back. Also, be prepared for mother-in-law to call your son Henry anyways, especially if you ever have her babysit. These kind of dilemmas usually don't with the flying monkeys. I don't understand that last part. Not the a-hole. Following a tradition is optional, not obligatory. Do what you feel is right for your child, and don't let your husband's family guilt trip you into caving and giving a child name that both of you won't like. I agree. And so does everyone else, as she has been labeled not the a-hole. You ready for the next one? Am I the a-hole for asking my husband to contribute money to expenses on the house we live in, even though he's not a homeowner? I've owned my home for 8 years. My husband and I have been together for 6 and married for 3. When we got married, I was making a lot more money than him, and he couldn't afford to get our own home, so he moved into mine. We looked into adding him to the house deed or mortgage, but were advised against it by the bank folks since his credit was bad, and I had already refinanced mid-pandemic for an amazingly low interest rate. So we put into our prenup that he would pay rent, and in the event of a divorce, which is not the plan, of course, the house would remain legally mine since I had put in the down payment and a few years of mortgage payments already. The goal when we married was to save and then move, buying a home together. I've saved enough for a down payment a few times, but he never has. And I didn't want to just front all the money for another house when it's important to both of us for it to be ours. Today, my husband has a great full-time job as a software developer and a salary of $95,000. I still make a bit more than him, but I'm a journalist and 1099 contractor, so my income is more unpredictable, and I also have to pay way more in taxes. Income-wise, it seems like it evens out. But still, we run into trouble with any type of expenses for the house. There are certain things that I always pay 100% myself, like house cleaners and landscaping, because they are nice to haves and not necessities. I also pay for our kids' swim and dance lessons on my own because my husband also sees them as non-necessities. Dance, sure, but I would argue learning how to swim is pretty essential. But anyways, so those are the expenses I've agreed to take on all on my own, but when the plumbing needs to be replaced or our kids crack the bathtub and we need a new one, my husband falls back on the "it's not technically my house" excuse, and we often end up in huge fights because he refuses to contribute to a multi-$1,000 expense that is definitely a necessity for our family. We will talk in circles. He will say living in this fancy house, a 1,900 square foot bungalow from 1940, in a city, which I bought for $32,000, is my choice. And if it weren't for me, he wouldn't live somewhere like this. But I found that hard to believe because there are few places cheaper in our city where a family of 4 could fit. Our boys share a bedroom. Plus, the whole reason we live here is because I already owned the home when we met. And my husband has never been able to afford to go in on a new place of our own. He usually relents and contributes some smaller dollar amount eventually, but it's always a fight first, and it's exhausting. Right now, I just found out our entire roof needs new shingles, and I'm dreading the fight if I ask my husband for any help paying for this expense. Am I the a-hole? That is quite a problem. I will definitely say you are not the a-hole. Mostly because you're supposed to be a partnership and he's not putting in his half. Yes, you technically own the place, but if he wants to be with you, he still needs to contribute. If you both have the ability to pay for these needs, it should be a joint partnership, and it seems like he just doesn't care enough, which is really sad. This comment says that he needs to pay much more of the kids' expenses. Also, it sounds like he has a job that offers insurance. Check to see if his is better than what they have, and the cost, he should definitely cover that. The next time he starts that stuff about, I wouldn't live there, take it to the mat. I absolutely hate when people make asinine and insulting remarks, and this is so insanely cheap and belittling, so turn it around on him. Where would you live then? How much is it? Why haven't you taken me to see it? What kind of mortgage financing options are you looking at? What's the interest? Oh, it's a bad rate because your credit rating stinks and interest rates are high right now? Sounds like this won't work and you don't have a choice. Draw up a lease with market rate rent. He's got you shouldering the burden for everything, some from habit and some from a cheap, stingy nature, but that's not how this should be. Finances can be ugly, but he's really made them this way. Get angry and don't accept this. I agree. She needs to make sure that she puts her foot down, and it will help so much in not only in the relationship, but she needs to talk to her husband and he needs to listen. Here's one that surprised me. You're the a-hole. You made it clear he's not a homeowner and a renter instead. Clearly some gray area, but you seem to want it both ways. If you divorce, and the way it's going, plan for that, he gets no money back for fixing your plumbing issues. Since you're the landlord, those are your responsibility. And I have to say, this is a terrible way to be married to someone. You guys need to get out of that house ASAP and combine finances so you quit nickel and diming each other. And it is potential that they could be going towards divorce. That's weird. Turns out I misread it. She's making him pay rent. And that definitely changes my view. I definitely overlooked the fact that he's paying rent. And with the fact that he's paying rent, it's a little strange. It's like she's having some level of power over him and not healthy. So they're both in the wrong. They should stop tormenting each other. Am I the a-hole for encouraging our friend group to stop visiting a friend due to their house rules? Posted from a burner account, as quite a few people involved are on Reddit too. There is a person in our friend group who usually hosts us at her place for weekly drinks. She recently became very active in the vegan community and promotes her views a lot. We don't mind it too much, although she can be annoying at times. We usually do BYOB for the weekly drinks, and we've never had any incidents or problems. I think we're quite considerate guests, and she enjoys hosting people. So it was all fine until a month ago when she suddenly lashed out at another girl in the friend group for bringing a bottle of Bailey's to the weekly drinks. She was bluntly rude to the girl and made her pretty uncomfortable because I don't want any dairy in my glasses, no matter how much you will wash them after. We were like, okay, whatever, your glasses, so you get to decide. But afterwards, I've asked everybody if they'd prefer me to host from now on. Everyone was uncomfortable about the situation, and we decided that I'd be hosting from now on. It's been a month since then, and the original host seems quite upset. I think she really enjoyed her role as a host and valued it quite a bit. So I don't know, wondering if that seems like a good decision. On one hand, she has the right to set the rules in her place, and she's upset now. On the other, it seemed really petty, and the rude reaction was over the top. I definitely agree with you. Having that opinion over a little bit of dairy in a glass is intense, but I think you did a good job in resolving the situation. Even though she may have been hurt in the process, everybody else had a meaningful way of continuing that community with each other. They came up with a separate option that everyone seemed to be okay with, even though the original host got disappointed and upset from not being able to host anymore. Let's move on to some comments, shall we? She learned a hard consequence for her insanely rude behavior. That's on her. What did she think was going to happen? People would happily return to her house? I understand your discomfort now because she's upset, but it's not like you dropped her as a friend. If she wants to host again sometime, she should apologize for how she behaved. I've been a vegetarian for 14 years, and I just can't tolerate people being rude to others because they don't have the same dietary lifestyle. Yes, that is another thing. You should not control someone else's lifestyle because of your own changes that you've made. Finding another one. Not the a-hole. While she has the right to her house rules, not everyone can conform to her vegan rules. So therefore, it is better to have a different host, and she can bring her own glass and not worry about it. I agree. Not the a-hole. Her behavior was weird and hostile. If she wants to be a host, she shouldn't lash out at guests for something like this. Exactly. It is other people's decisions, and they are allowed to make their own decisions. This is the last. Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to the store when my significant other cooks meals for me? My significant other, male, 38, and I, female, 35, have lived together for over a year. His mother and our daughter, female, 13, are also in the home. He is the primary cook in the home, as he prefers to cook and is picky about how the food is prepared. He also does the majority of the shopping because he prefers to shop at certain stores. I do also cook occasionally and pay for meals when we order out. Additionally, when I give him money to assist with bills, I give him extra to help pay for food costs. I do also clean the kitchen after every meal, which is not a small task because he doesn't clean as he cooks. And typically, anything he touches in the meal prep process is left out. None of this bothers me so much as when he asks me to go to the store for last-minute ingredients. For some reason, he never has all the ingredients right before the meal needs to be cooked. For instance, tonight he starts cooking pasta at 6:45 p.m. and right before he cooks, he forgot that we did not have noodles. He started planning dinner at 10 a.m., then expects me to drop anything I am doing to go to the store to get the items. When I say no, you could have asked earlier or planned better, he accuses me of being lazy or not helpful. He does this during holidays too. Days before the holiday, I ask several times, does he need me to go to the store? Every day leading up to the holiday, he says no. Then inevitably, the day of the holiday, he needs a few ingredients. I ask him all of the time to just be thoughtful of my time because I could end up having to make trips to the store every day due to his poor planning. I am starting to feel he does this as a way to make me earn my meal. Am I the a-hole? That sounds really hard. This partnership seems like it is becoming very push and pull. He's not considerate of your actions that you're putting into it. Not to mention all the things that you're probably doing while he's prepping. I do think it is a little strange that he's constantly doing this, especially even after you've asked if he has everything ahead of time, especially for holidays. Like, that is concerning. Like, you have so many days ahead of time and he still says no, and then the holiday gets ruined because you have to do a chore of making you earn your meal, which is kind of concerning and toxic and is very confusing why he doesn't have everything when he's about to start cooking. Like, that is concerning. He seems to be putting in a lot of effort into food and then just making you make up for whatever he doesn't want to do. Not the a-hole, but I'm left wondering if he does other things that show he doesn't respect you. Is this the tip of the iceberg? That is a good question. I definitely want to know more about this because, like, it might just be this only, but also it might be a sign to run, in my opinion, because that is a very toxic trait if he is doing this on purpose. You know, I was ready to go the opposite way here because they're doing most of the mental and physical labor here, but who doesn't check if they have pasta before preparing a pasta meal? Plus, you're trying to preempt the issue, not the a-hole. He needs to figure out how to shop, ask for materials ahead of time, or switch to Blue Apron. Don't know what Blue Apron is, but if that's a helpful thing, that would be good. That is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you all have a good day or night. Bye! This person says that they are the or
the butthole or a-hole.
You got that? I slipped off.
Oh.
I slipped off. And you have a recording of it.
Yep.